Best popping big in the league, Cat. Best rolling big in the league, Rudy. We should be off to a good start.
Well, that's the theory at least. The Minnesota Timberwolves starting five is off to a rough start. The pairing of Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns has not gone smoothly on the offensive end. When Rudy Gobert is on the floor without Cat, they have an incredible defense, but a terrible offense. When Cat is on the floor in the five with 5-out spacing, they have an incredible offense, but a terrible defense. Put the two together, you have a good top 10 defensive team, which Rudy Gobert pretty much guarantees at this point, and a below average bad offensive team. There's some good, some bad, but the crux of the issue comes down to a stagnant offense with little flow, spacing, or good decision making, and lack of creation that's really hurting this Timberwolves offense currently. The lack of spacing or ideal spacing was always going to be a problem early on. Karl-Anthony Towns used to playing 5 and 5 out, but here you can see them setting a double ball screen and both players rolling directly to the rim. This allows Lopez to guard basically 3 players and no advantage to the Timberwolves and bailed out with a foul call. This happens in random offense where they both roll to the rim, leaving the ball handler with no choice but to just drive the ball or self-create. Some of the spacing issues in transition come up here. You can see Karl-Anthony Towns running on the wing. He dives into the lane. Gobert also cuts into the lane, both clogging up in the paint, neither posting up. But there have been signs of life. You can see against the Milwaukee Bucks, them setting this double ball screen, Gobert rolling and sealing deep. A little high-low action here from Cat to Gobert for the and one. And when Chris Finch, one of the best offensive minds in the NBA, is allowed and has time to draw up plays, you can see him draw up this great play involving both Gobert and Cat with a handoff into a ball screen, a flare screen for Cat here, and then Gobert slips to the rim on the blown coverage. Great action, great look after timeout. In the flow of the offense is where the spacing gets weird. You can see the flip to Karl-Anthony Towns here, who rejects it, driving basically to a loaded side with Gobert opposite in the dunker spot. No real option to go, and it ends up in a pretty sloppy turnover on the drive here with gap help. Even when it's set up correctly with great spacing, you can see as Cat drives here, Gobert's on the same side. Instead of relocating and sliding opposite, he has to force up the floater. But in 5 out, he's able to catch the drive downhill, finish with ease in the layup. Another example here, driving at his defender and flipping for the catch and shoot 3. Gobert hasn't been great in these off-ball scenarios either. As you can see here in 4 out, he's on the same side as Karl-Anthony Towns. He should be sliding over the opposite dunker spot, creating more space for the dribble drive action, driving kick actions. Rudy Gobert's strength is setting a ball screen and diving to the rim, being a rim runner in the pick and roll, and he's elite at it. The problem is when he runs pick and roll with either D'Angelo Russell or Anthony Edwards, that leaves Karl-Anthony Towns kind of just standing there in space on the floor, a little bit of Kevin Love syndrome, if you will. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but he's not really involved in many of the plays, especially if Ant and D'Angelo Russell don't make great decisions, which they're just not the best at right now. Because of some of the problems the Timberwolves are having with reading the game off the ball and on the ball when driving, you can see when they drive the ball, most often or not, they're helping off of Rudy Gobert, who's in the dunker spot or in that area around the paint. But even in pick and roll scenarios or drive and lob scenarios, Karl-Anthony Towns' passes are off target, frankly, most of the time, and just not great, or setting up teammates for success, or even just sloppy and lazy. He's had some good moments. You've seen a couple of lobs to Gobert, but they're primarily in the same game against the Thunder, a team that isn't really good at the moment. This all leads into bad offense with bad decision making, sloppy play, stagnant offense, no flow, and just choppy basketball. They also have a problem with stacking these possessions on top of one another. So you'd see 4 to 5 possessions will have a turnover. 5 out of 6 possessions will have a missed shot combined with turnovers, and just horrible basketball at times. One of the problems Anthony Edwards has is his playmaking, or his lack of playmaking currently. Here you can see he does a good job gnashing the drive on the baseline, but any great point guard or creator notices that Gobert is wide open on the roll here and lobs it up to him. Here are some examples from Chris Paul. Anytime you drag out the big in a Nash action, that throwback to the lob is always there. Players are tending to look for their own shots in early offense, bad passes or passes that are off target that take away any advantage. Weird decisions from D'Angelo Russell, like trying to back his man down for 10 seconds, stagnating the offense, sloppy passes. Not great point guard play for the Timberwolves so far this season. Everyone on the Timberwolves is guilty of really sloppy, bad, unforced turnovers. The Timberwolves currently have the worst turnover percentage of any qualifying lineup in the NBA. turning the ball over 20% of the time with their starting lineup on the court. Giving the other team the ball 1 out of every 5 possessions with lazy and not attacking or probing passes is a big problem for this Timberwolves offense. Not only lazy turnovers, but weird turnovers are happening for the Timberwolves. Here, there's supposed to be a flare screen for Anthony Edwards to come off and catch for their shooting 3 action. A common Timberwolves sideline out of bounds play they've run all last year and this year. For some reason, Anthony Edwards just stops here, and D'Angelo Russell throws it to where he's supposed to be, ends up in a sloppy turnover in a crucial moment against the Bucks. When they play out of Karl-Anthony Towns in the post, they execute what I'm calling burn and dive action, which means the opposite corner is going to burn cut to the basket. Gobert is going to flare screen for the player who entered the ball in the post and then dive to the rim. In theory, when the weak side trap comes, this should open up a basket option, a diving option, but looking mainly for a skip pass to the opposite wing for a 3-point shot or drive. The post spacing doesn't help Karl-Anthony Towns' decision making. They run this little slice screen action often for him to get in the post, especially after timeouts. And you can see here on this concept where they use the same kind of burn and dive action, McDaniels is way too close on the ball side. D'Angelo Russell reverse curls into the lane and just becomes too clogged and congested. They don't always have that burn and dive action. Here they run a little roll to a punch set for Karl-Anthony Towns with Gobert sitting in the opposite dunker spot, making the game a little bit easier and simplifying it. I wonder if they saw the first few games and simplified it more for Cat, trying to get him in basic action to get him in a post up, and then wherever the defense comes from, he's able to read it a little bit easier here for the duck in. The most common set they're running for Karl-Anthony Towns is this Horns flare action, where they have him set the first ball screen, then come off a flare screen from Gobert, involving both of them in that action again. Most teams are opting to switch this action, which allows Cat to attack a mismatch or smaller player at times. Here he should probably finish with a hook and finish at the rim, tries to lob it to Gobert and ends up in a miss. The Suns gave the Timberwolves some problems when they were able to switch Biyombo onto Karl-Anthony Towns and Cam Johnson onto Rudy Gobert. Switching like this, though, usually gives the offense the advantage, with Karl-Anthony Towns being a spectacular offensive player. Here you can see the Timberwolves get the switch against the Jazz. A good attack here with Gobert on the weak side dunker spot, ends up getting the offensive rebound. And when the Spurs switch a much smaller player onto Karl-Anthony Towns, he just backs him down and goes in for an easy left hook finish. Timberwolves run another set for Karl-Anthony Towns to come off a flare screen. You see them go into delay action or 5 out. Gobert sets a down screen here on the wing to Edwards. Edwards comes off for a handoff. Then Gobert sets a flare screen for Karl-Anthony Towns. Great action because it forces a player guarding Karl-Anthony Towns to defend or honor the handoff. That opens up the flare screen, which Gobert is very good at setting. That allows him to free up Karl-Anthony Towns for shot opportunities. The Timberwolves run a play that they call Horns Down 1, which is a set involving both players at the elbows again, with D'Angelo Russell coming off a handoff. Starting with a pass to the wing, they look for a quick action with D'Angelo Russell coming off of sort of like a pass and then a quick screen. They got this action a lot last year. They haven't got it so far this year. I think teams have added to the scouting report, but they are looking for this first action for a quick hitting layup. If that's not open, they will flow into a down screen in the middle of the paint into a handoff for D'Angelo Russell. So Karl-Anthony Towns is setting the down screen. D'Angelo Russell's coming off the handoff from Gobert. The idea here is to get D'Angelo Russell coming off a handoff, Karl-Anthony Towns coming off a baseline screen, Gobert rolling to the rim, and Edwards lifting up, giving the 4 main options all a chance to get a scoring opportunity in this after timeout call. Hasn't ever been fully realized and executed to that yet after running it 8 to 10 times earlier this season. Not a great look for the Timberwolves playbook so far. Finch calls out double TP here, meaning double Taurean Prince, a stagger screen, looking to get a shooter open, different reads out of it. They run this a lot with Cat and Gobert in the lineup. You can see here the point signal, signaling for both players to go set a double stagger screen for the corner. The reads here are simple. Look to attack off that first screen, Gobert rolling to the rim, and then a player opening up. When Karl-Anthony Towns and Gobert set the screen and the first screen's curled, they'll set a little rescreen here for Cat to come off looking for a 3-point shot. If the player is kind of covered coming off the double screen normally, then they have the option to set a flare screen if Gobert is the first screener for Karl-Anthony Towns to like a corner 3 or a corner shot when help comes. Thanks for checking out this breakdown. I hope you learned something from it. If you would like more Timberwolves X's and O's or to support this channel, I have a Substack that I send out emails to all subscribers on. You can check that out in the link below.